Hey, Dr. John Finn here. Welcome to the Habit Mechanic podcast. Right now, you can get my new best-selling book, Train Your Brain for the AI Revolution, at tougherminds.co.uk. The digital book, audiobook, and physical book are all available at a special price that you won't find anywhere else.
Welcome to a special podcast with Tougher Minds Head of Coaching, Andrew Foster. On this podcast, we are going to talk about how Andrew became involved with Tougher Minds and his work successfully with a habit mechanic system, helping so many people feel better and do better. Andrew, hello to you.
Hi, Andrew. Lovely to be here with you.
Yeah, great to talk. It's great to have this opportunity to hear more about how you're successfully helping people implement the habit mechanic system into their work and lives. Let's start straight away. Please tell us a little bit about yourself and how you became involved with Tougher Minds and Dr. John Finn.
Sure. So I'm from Yorkshire, like John. I'm from Bradford, and I've actually known John for a long time, since childhood. And after school, I went to university in Cambridge. I studied history at Fitzwilliam College, and that was a fantastic experience. Got to study with some amazing people, both the people who taught me and the people who were alongside me. It's really incredibly inspiring. One of the guys in my year, in his finals, wrote an exam. The professors called him in afterwards, and he was worried he was going to be in trouble. Like, what do they want? And it turned out what he'd written under time conditions was so good. He'd actually come up with something that they never thought. This is at Cambridge, like the leading people in the world reading this, going, not really thought of it like that before. And they took, 21-year-old guy, they took his paper and said, write it up for an academic journal, because he contributed to the sum store of human knowledge in an exam. So it's an amazing environment to be in. I feel very fortunate that I got that opportunity. I then went into teaching. I taught in a brilliant school in London, that kids from a massive range of backgrounds. Some dealing I remember one of my a pupil that I knew was dealing with three separate things that you wouldn't that would crush the average adult, and they were dealing with them age 11 years old. So it gave me some insight as to the challenges that some people see, but also what people can achieve. People going on. I was really proud. We had a good run of people going on and studying at Fitzwilliam in particular, as well as lots of competitive courses, Cambridge, Oxford, medicine, law, all sorts of things. So that was super. I had a year in Australia teaching over there. That was fantastic. And then I came back to UK and became head of history at Colston, which is where I properly became involved with Tougher Minds. And we were really keen to help the pupils, help the students get the absolute best out of themselves. And so I was aware of the brilliant work that John was doing at the Haberdasher School in Monmouth, and I asked him to come into Cols. And from the first session, I was watching it and thinking, it's not just the pupils who need this. I could use this. I could use this to help me in my own performance. And so from there, the program grew and grew. I took on a role of head of GCSE and then head of academic performance. And we rolled out John's initiative across the year groups, and we're helping not just across the year groups. We had the parents coming in and training, and that's where we started to see that spread from, and very organically, from this being a sort of pigeonholed as a study skills support, to being, this isn't study skills. This is for anyone and for everyone. This is to help human beings of any age close the gap between what they hope to do, what they intend to do, and what they end up doing. And as a consequence, I, would work closer and closer. More and more of my time was devoted to helping the program spread throughout the school. And in the end, I took a full-time role with Tougher Minds. I'm still at Coles as a consultant. I was there yesterday working with their Year 7 pupils, as it happens. But we're also engaging the teachers, engaging the parents, because it's just as applicable to anyone. The bulk of my time now is spent working with adults, working with high-performing professionals, early, mid, late career professionals in all sorts of sectors across the world. And every day I'm speaking to people who are coming from a totally different range of contexts. And they are often, by and large, incredibly expert in what they're doing. And I'm helping them analyze and say, right, how do we close that gap? How do we make those changes? And as anyone who's read The Habit Mechanic will know, any problem that you're seeing is a habit problem, and it'll have a habit solution.
Yeah, that's great, Andrew. You just took the words right out of my mouth, actually, because I'd just like to emphasize that, what you're saying, as I understand it, Dr. John Finn came to work in the school, specifically within your department, and then because of the success, it broadened out at such a rapid rate and so profoundly across the school. John was implementing this integrated brain-based behavior change system, at the time not referred to as the habit mechanic system, but subsequently was, and it was his system base, rooted in neuroscience, rooted in the latest understanding of the brain and behavior, and it had such a profound, successful effect with pupils, then parents. And then, of course, as you've alluded to, you spread it beyond education into the City of London. Just tell us a little bit about that, if you can, in a short period, how parents who had high pressure jobs saw this system, which helped people of all ages deliver a greater amount of peak cognitive performance and feel better as well. How that spread almost virally.
I'm laughing because I'm remembering one of the emails that we sent around, so we had lots of communication with parents, keep them posted as to what we were doing to support their children, the courses that we were running for parents in the evenings. One of these emails went viral round a different school's group of parents. Someone forwarded it to someone, and then there was a bit of a kerfuffle as to, hang on a minute, how, where's our version of this? And the reality is, there isn't another version of this. There's a lot of talk in all sorts of, not just in education. There's a lot of talk about these problems that we're seeing. There's not effective solutions. And so when parents were coming in and working with us, they were seeing, initially often they'd be coming in saying, oh, my son, my daughter really needs to learn how to concentrate. 2 or 3 sessions in, they were going, I need to learn how to concentrate. I need to learn how to develop habits that are going to support me in using my afternoons better, or making, setting time aside to actually make progress rather than just chasing my tail, better watching my sleep, my diet, my exercise, and then deliberately planning habitual things that are sustainable instead of being in that treadmill of diets that fall away, gym routines that fall away. Deliberately designing sustainable habits that end up being just part of what you do, like brushing your teeth twice a day. If you can if you understand what a habit is, and you can design it, and then you can maintain it, and you can notice when it will be challenged by changes in your circumstances, changes in what you do. If you're able to go under the bonnet of it and get it working again, then that's where we're seeing people make these fantastic changes that don't just help their performance in work, but improve their health, their happiness, their sense of fulfillment and enjoyment.
To hear about the spread of the system like that is fantastic, Andrew. And I think it's worth pointing out for people who perhaps not so familiar with it. You talk about a clamour almost from parents of children within and outside of the school who saw the success of this system. The City of London, and many of those parents were based and worked in the City of London. Now, that's not a place where fools are suffered gladly, or
No.
It's almost a shark tank, if we want to use that word. It's highly competitive, arguably the world's most competitive business context, perhaps. So people there were taking the behaviour change systems, the systems that led to more peak performance more often, better well-being. They were taking these systems and implementing them for themselves and also in their businesses. They'd seen how successful it was and they wanted to implement it.
Yes, so they were recognising an issue that just had been treated as just being endemic, as being just human nature, and no, there was no solution, just had to be worked around, and seeing that actually, if you have an understanding, and it can't just be, it can't be vague. It's got to be purposeful. It's got to be drawn from the research. It's got to be drawn from the neuroscience, the psychology, as to how to initially help ourselves, then help the people around us identify where they require better habits for whatever it is they're trying to do. Then you start to see progress. Not linear progress. We'll go forward a bit, backward a bit, but over time, we're seeing dramatic improvements in terms of how people set about the difficulties they see, and that was true for someone working in the Shard or the Gherkin or what have you, and that's true for anyone in any context.
Yeah, and we'll talk in a moment about how you're now working to implement the habit mechanic system into so many people's lives and work successfully and the benefits it's bringing them. But just before we do that, I know you just wanted to mention briefly, just to illustrate, I know your profound belief in the approach, that you use this system at a moment in your life which was, well, I think it's fair to say, terrible and catastrophic for you.
Yes. So, I think it's important. The nature of the work I do is very personal. I'm working with people one to one. And it's also something that's not. It's not an entirely private thing because of the way that we've sort of processed it. So Catherine and I, we have 3 children: Lyra, Rycroft, and Seffi, who was born this year. Very sadly, Rycroft had a genetic condition called Schwachman-Diamond syndrome. It's very incredibly rare. Some people with it go through their entire lives without even realising they've got it. That's how little it affects them. Other people, it can affect them moderately. Unfortunately for Rycroft, it affects him very severely, and he required a stem cell transplant at 16 months. He required a stem cell transplant at a year old, which is the youngest on record in the UK and one of the youngest ever in the world. And it, whilst the procedure was a success, you're incredibly vulnerable afterwards. And he unfortunately got an infection that there was nothing that could be done, and he passed away at 16 months. And I think it's important to talk about it because partly, I think at one point it was understood that you didn't talk about these things, that and sometimes children who died young basically were never mentioned again, and to me, that's a sadness on top of a sadness. It is incredibly consoling for us that Rycroft is remembered, and that people who never even met him know his story and know something about him. And then beyond that, we know the nature of Rycroft's illness, the nature of the illnesses of the other people on his wards. So he was on a ward with other children who didn't have the same genetic condition, but might, blood cancers, things like that, that necessitate stem cell transplant. And so we've channeled a lot of this energy. When you have children, you get up every day thinking about them, thinking about what you can do for them. And with Lyra and with Sethi, I'm thinking about like getting them to school, changing nappies, all the sort of standard stuff. With Rycroft, there's never going to be that again, but that energy is still there, and like that desire to be his dad is still there. And so the way that we've found of channeling that is not just to raise funds, but we've got some really exciting things about how we go about getting blood donors, because Rycroft needed an incredible amount of blood transfusions in his life. How we get stem cell donors, and there's opportunity for Rycroft to have a legacy here, and so it means that I'm spinning a lot of plates. I'm like, I'm working on, it's an incredibly exciting time with the habit mechanic coaching. It's the Rycroft events and all those sort of things. They take time and attention, and it's a lot of plates to keep spinning alongside having a young family too. And what I can say to anyone, because I know people, there's all sorts of incredibly difficult things happening in people's lives, and I can tell you, not just from the book, but from my personal experience, that what we're talking about here can help you. It can help you with the most mundane things possible. Like, I use habit mechanic insights to help me make sure the bins and the recycling gets out at the right time. Just get that job off my list. And that's at one end of the scale. And at the other end of the scale, like some of the most difficult things that human beings can go through, it can help you. It can help you with that. It will come down to what you do and how, in really difficult times, how you just keep putting one foot in front of the other. And this, and then there's everything in between. And so, yeah, like we're never going to forget Rycroft. I'm never going to stop being Rycroft's dad. And I feel very lucky that I'm doing, the nature of my work allows me to keep thinking about how we can move our attention onto what's the helpful thing to do, what's the thing that we can do, even when things feel tough, even when even when it's sometimes incredibly hard. It's really inspiring working with people and helping them deal with their sort of challenges, and it helps me, keep my own show on the road as well.
Well, thank you so much for sharing that, Andrew. It's I'm sure that's going to be helpful for many people in that situation, just generally, but also to tell them explicitly that there is something here that you have such absolutely fervent belief in. So let's talk then. Let's talk about how you are helping people now in your work with the habit mechanic system and the coaching. How you're helping people get more hours of extra cognitive peak performance every day. 3 hours is something that you focus on, 3 hours plus in many cases. The system is award-winning. You're helping people to achieve more peak cognitive performance, as you say, and feel great. No willpower needed, I know, is something that you say too. So please tell us more now about how you are working and how people can work with you now if they want to.
Absolutely. So we can't make any more hours in the day. Everyone gets 24 hours. Everyone gets 168 in a week. But what we can do, and it always makes people smile if you said, look, if it was revealed that a hidden camera had been following you during your working day, how much of that time do you think is spent at your peak? How much of that time is spent where you're doing what you intended to do? And that's where people, sometimes smile, sometimes, sort of, sort of think, don't smile and think that that would be horrific to have to sit down and watch what I actually do in a working day, because we are, human beings. We're made to procrastinate. We're made to spend our time worrying and thinking about things beyond our control. And if we don't deliberately push back and deliberately form more helpful habits around getting the best performance that we can, about improving the amount of time spent doing high quality work, however we choose to define that, then we aren't going to hit our potential. Might do okay, might do really well, but we will never find out what we could have done. And so when I'm working with people, we speak one-to-one, a bit like we're doing now, and I am helping them to use. So we've got, the book is at the heart of what we're doing. I'm helping them to use the tools in the book to design habits, design super habits for managing their time, whether it's in work, whether it's outside work, whether it's around their sleep, their diet, their exercise, whether it's around, for example, using the willpower story to manage their productivity, whether it's around using metacognitive tools to manage their level of activation, so they're able to do this this high performance cognitively demanding work during the day, and then they're able to recharge in the evenings. Something that seems to be, like incredible. Most people seem to find very relatable. Everyone's talking about how little time they've got. Everyone's talking about how tired they feel. But then you say, well, does this describe your evening? There's you and your partner, your husband, your wife, and you both sat on the sofa, and one sat at one end of the sofa, the other sat on the other, and there's something on TV that you're both half watching, and you're scrolling through your phones. And most people at that point go, oh, that sounds like most nights at my house. That's not effective recharge. It's totally understandable. It's totally relatable, but it isn't what's best in terms of improving how we're going to feel tomorrow. It's not good for our performance. It's not good for just our general enjoyment of our of our lives. So when I'm working with people, for example, working with a doctor who's under incredible time pressure, and he recognised that issue, that he was struggling with that, with tiredness, struggling with, feeling that he wanted to have more time for his girlfriend, and now he's learning to coach himself into deliberately moving his attention, developing deliberate habits around, right, we're not going to half watch something on TV. Let's go for a walk and talk to each other. let's instead of doing our study, on our own, let's coordinate it and let's do a bit together, and let's take our breaks together, have a cup of tea together, and then get back to the work. When John talks about moving from being stuck to being unstoppable, that's what we're on about, and we're seeing it. People I'm working with, I'm getting word of mouth work through people noticing. They're working. They see someone sort of in their workplace that I'm working with, and they're like, what's happened to this person, where they previously were sort of here, they're now here. They can visibly see it in their colleagues. And so I'm not surprised that, I've been working with Tougher Minds. I've been working on the Habit Mechanic program long enough to know that this is the impact that it can have. And so it doesn't matter whether I'm working with someone in their 20s or someone in their 30s, 40s, 50s, 60s. It doesn't matter what sector, what the nature of their work is. It will come back to how do we design these habits. We start small. It might just be, a 10-minute a day commitment in the first instance, and then we are using that time to impact, spending minutes to save hours. And through building those habits, through maintaining them and building the next habit and the next habit, we're getting people feeling like they're making progress on ambitions and goals that they've been stuck for far too long. And now they're looking to 2025 with massive confidence.
I know you work with a range of people, Andrew. That's a fact. I wasn't aware of the work with a GP. That sounds absolutely fascinating. And most people in the UK will know how pressurised in existence GP.
Not even a GP, Andrew. A surgeon.
Oh well.
So this is someone who, sometimes gets in at 1 and is due back on the ward at 8. This is someone doing nights. This is someone, literally with lives in his hands as a matter of course, and was already doing amazing work, but now would say himself doing even better, and that's couldn't be more pleased to be doing that sort of work and helping fantastic people do even better in what they do.
Yeah, and I think I was about to say, and thanks for that. That makes it an even more compelling case study, if you like. But I was about to say, I know you're working with a range of people who just want to implement the habit mechanic system into their lives for its own sake. People who are involved in high-profile leadership positions, people involved in business, the whole range of society.
Yes. So, I mean, whatever stage someone is at, if you are someone who is in a leadership position, if you're someone who's in a junior position, if you're someone who's in a sort of middle manager position, if you're looking to improve what you do, and if you're if you see that gap between what you intend to do, what you're being asked to do, and what you tend to do as a matter of sort of daily behaviour, then you can benefit from this program. You can, by thinking about your day and thinking about how much of it are you spending doing your best quality work. How much of it are you spending? When it comes to making those choices around one more episode of Netflix, or do I go to bed and get up tomorrow better able to use the day? At lunchtime, are we using that break time sensibly? Are we getting moving? Are we eating something that's going to be conducive to not just our long-term health, but being able to perform at our best in the afternoon? Have we got a clear plan for those challenges that often get away from ourselves? If we got a task that we know should be doable in an hour, but often bleeds out to 2, can we start to bring it down from 120 minutes to 115, 110, 90, 80? That's where this time is coming back. We're not making, and I think John's model around the sort of 25-hour week, if we can get those 5 hours of cognitive, high performance, high performance time over the course of the week, then we're going to find ourselves progressing with things that otherwise would stay stuck in the mud. And so, I think that's why there's so much excitement amongst the people I'm working with around how they can use these tools and move things forward.
Yeah, it sounds absolutely amazing and fascinating, and it's great now that you and Dr. John Finn are working together to share the habit mechanics system with so many people. If people want to learn more about it, if people want to talk to you about possibly learning how they might be able to work with you, how can they get in touch with you and book an initial chat or an exchange of ideas?
If you go to the Tougher Minds website and you click on coaching, there'll be a link there. If you want to just cut straight to the chase, email me, andrewfoster@tougherminds.co.uk. Really happy to outline what we do, arrange a free consultation where we can discuss, have a bit of dialogue about what challenges you're facing, how this can help you.
Yeah, fantastic. Well, Andrew Foster at tougherminds.co.uk. I presume that's all lowercase, as people usually say.
Yes, no spaces, no underscores.
Yeah, Andrew Foster at tougherminds.co.uk. We'll put that in the description of this podcast as well. And as you say, the Tougher Minds website, tougherminds.co.uk. Well, thanks for that, Andrew. We're recording this podcast as 2024 draws to a close, just over a month left in the year. Obviously, the change of the year is a time when people make resolutions and new commitments to self-improvement in their life and work. And I think it's fair to say we all recognise now the world is changing at such a rapid rate. New challenges in business with AI, new developments in geopolitics bring challenges for business, bring challenges for our everyday lives sometimes. So I know you're seeing a trend where people are needing more from their lives, more performance, more resilience, more confidence, more willpower, more commitment to their goals more than ever. Just again, talk to us about that, and perhaps how you can help people specifically start afresh in this time of starting afresh, a New Year's resolution.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, everyone recognises that thing about signing up for gym membership in January, not being seen beyond February, and then it's still going out the direct debit, because that's human nature. We're not, we are calibrated to conserve energy on things that don't give immediate reward. And so, if you're wanting to change your exercise habits, if you're wanting to change your diet, your nutritional habits, then it is absolutely crucial to understand what habit is and how to design one. If you're putting up a shed in January and you just had a go based off common sense and trial and error, I think that shed would probably fall down before February. You need to, anyone sensible would be saying, right, how do I put this shed up? What do the people who've put sheds up before say about how to make sure this shed is in the best state possible to survive everything that comes at it? Habits need to be designed if they're going to work effectively. We've got a 9 action factor model. We've got a habit building plan that can take you in about 10 minutes through the key components of successfully designing a habit. And so that's where that's where I'll be helping people in 2025. Everyone wants that year to go really well for them. The people for whom it will go well are the people with the most helpful habits. And so if you want to be someone with helpful habits, you need to learn how to be a habit mechanic. And that's what you learn with our coaching program. How to be a habit mechanic, how to take yourself through 2025, maintaining the things that you know will be helpful, developing the things that you learn along the way you need as you go. And only a habit mechanic can hope to do that anywhere near as well as our potential.
Yeah, I know you mentioned gym membership then, which is obviously a very real thing as the year
Yes.
turns. But I know you that's just a microcosm really of the way you can help people. It's a very useful metaphor of starting afresh and then not being able to continue on. But any change, any behaviour change people want to make is what you're saying you can help them with.
100%. For example, some people, it's changing how they conduct themselves in meetings. Some people sometimes feel like, oh, actually, I need to keep my emotions and my temper more under control. Some people, I need to actually be a bit more forthright and a little more confident and speak up at times where my habit is to stay quiet. Sometimes it's around systems of just making sure when instructions and directions have been given, how to make sure, instead of just hoping that they've been received, how can we systematically ensure that they have been heard? I mean, so it's not if all you do in 2025 is improve your physical fitness and actually get the value out of your gym membership, you're probably doing better than 90% of people, and well done on that. But even better is to take that same those same principles and spread it into all the important aspects of your life. Your exercise is important, but it's one plank of several. And so everything that's applicable with your exercise, with your sleep, with your diet routine is also applicable within your workplace, within your family life. I mean, this is something that we use as a family. We, as a habit, on a Sunday night, sit down and we go through the week. We go through what's coming up, and we do this on a calendar with 7 weeks on it. And so every month we move the calendar up. The reason why it's 7 rather than 4 is because when it was 4, we realised, then the first week of next month comes at you like a sort of, you're like, oh, where's that? Oh, you've got that on Wednesday, but I've got this. And so we are not just within our work, but even as a family, we're creating helpful habits that just reduce stress, increase our understanding of what's coming. We can see difficulties coming with enough time to find resolutions, find ways through, and it just makes life easier, happier.
Well, thank you so much for your time today, Andrew. It's been fascinating to talk to you. Thank you also for sharing a very personal experience, which I think will help people understand your strength of feeling about what you say about the habit mechanic system and its benefits. Just please, once again, if you would remind us, if people do want to learn more, if people do want to be coached by you, learn about the opportunities to be coached by you and benefit from the habit mechanic system, how can they get in touch?
If you'd like to learn more about this, then drop me an email, andrewfoster@tougherminds.co.uk. You can also look on the Tougher Minds website, and there's means there on the coaching side to directly book a call with me, 20-minute consultation where we can discuss what the challenges you're seeing, how we can potentially help, because that's the exciting thing. And we are helping so many people now in all sorts of different sort of situations, all different stages of their lives and their careers, and it's only going to snowball in 2025. So it's just like, the only thing I would say is those bookings are coming in pretty quickly. So if you are interested in working with me, don't delay. Drop me a line and let's get you booked in.
Just a reminder also, people, to check out the Tougher Minds website, tougherminds.co.uk. You can take a test to discover how much time you are losing, how much peak cognitive performance you're actually losing every week. That's a fascinating tool. And of course, as Andrew says, you can get in touch with him. Tougherminds.co.uk is the website. That's your first port of call. Thanks for listening.
Thanks for listening to the Habit Mechanic podcast. If you liked it, please subscribe and tell someone else about one of the ideas or insights that you found most interesting.